What's good, everyone? This your main correspondent, Alan Taylor, and I'm back in the broadcast room. So, yes, this is what's going on here. So, apparently, as you can see all over the internet, TikTok, stuff like that, they've been spilling the beans over in China here, talking about, all the goods that we buy, as you clearly see on the screen, Nike, Prada bags, all the expensive bags, expensive clothes and stuff like that. They've been saying that they've been making this stuff for the longest. Now, some people, we kind of know these are to be facts. I mean, Jesus Christ, everything else is made in China, TVs, computers, things like that. A lot of things are made overseas, Indonesia, Taiwan, all this stuff. All those, they're over there with China, basically. Let's just keep it real. So, yeah, they've been, talking about what's going on. They getting pissed because of the tariffs and things like that. So they've been spilling the beans. And China, they want respect first. So they're not going to come to the table. But at the same time, though, too, there seem to be appointing a new negotiator for the task at hand about the tariffs. So we're going to dive off into this. Let's go here now, people. Quarters, nickels, and dimes.
Chinese factories are exposing luxury brands made in China. They show the world where your $1,000 handbag or $100 pair of leggings really came from. They now offer you the exact same thing. No middlemen, no markup. In a bold move that looks more like economic warfare than manufacturing, Chinese workers have lifted the lid on a $1 billion fantasy. A large proportion of the handbags, shoes, and clothes that claim to be made in Italy or designed in Paris are actually produced in China. As Trump's new tariffs hit Chinese exports, factories are fighting back, selling directly to you online and denouncing the whole hypocrisy. On TikTok, it quickly went viral. A recent investigation found that Chinese-run factories paid workers $2 an hour to assemble Armani handbags that sold for $18, but they still bore the Made in Italy label. This is all smoke and mirrors. These TikTok revelations are shattering that illusion for good. If your $2,000 wallet is made by the same people but is a $50 replica, why pay 40 times more? It's not just China that is breaking the rules. The brand is gaming the system too. Now, the workers, who have been hidden behind the scenes, are stepping into the spotlight to show the world the truth.
So this is where they're at. Now, apparently right here with this particular one, they claiming these are knockoffs and things like that. But this is the issue here. If they're saying that these are the knockoffs and stuff, it is what it is at this point. But my issue is yes, these people are making these things behind the scenes over there, and I'm not saying it's at a bulk level. Sorry, but listen, look, man, the whole time people have been getting got out here, the whole time, and these are just the facts. The whole time people have been getting got. Now, when it comes to these bags and stuff like that, because shit, I don't, I'm not going to pay $3,000 for a bag, but it just is what it is. People out there do it, and more power to you. But listen, look, when you can't trace the proper place and you just going in the store buying straight out things like that, you're not actually asking questions, things that you don't know where these bags are coming from, and these people are telling you real talk. Saying definitely. You getting some of these bags that they're sewing up in them factories over there in these high-end stores. You're getting them. All right. So we're going to keep it moving here because check this out, man. We got a lot. And yeah, let's go here now. And let's see what this gentleman had to say about the situation. He's basically breaking it down. He's like, man, China, we don't give a fuck. We don't care. We don't care about the tariffs. So y'all don't care about the tariffs. Okay. All right. Let's go here now.
China is fully prepared to fight to the very end because the world is big enough that the United States is not the totality of the market in the world. So if the United States wants to go in that direction of completely shutting itself out of the China market, be my guest. We don't care. We don't care. China has been here for 5,000 years. Most of the time, there was no United States, and we survived. And if the United States wants to bully China, we will deal with the situation without the United States. And we
now to speak upon that 5,000 years. Yes. Most of that, what I'm saying, they was, basically when it came to the late 19th century, 20th century, 18th century, things like that. They was in third world conditions. And yes, America comes along. It is what it is. I get it. What he's saying about, we survived for 30,000 years. Most of the time, America was, yeah, of course, fine. But even in the 20th century, y'all was still a third world country. Y'all did not become we're the first world. So they didn't become the second world until, basically America sold off its factories. Until we start selling off our jobs and things like that to them, and they've been pretty much having our factory jobs and manufacture all that type of stuff, for, at least I want to say since maybe the late 70s, something like that, early 80s, mid 70s. They, the politicians, all these people started selling off our factories and companies. And, if y'all remember, we used to have GE, Maytag. If you remember some of these companies' names I'm bringing up to you, yeah, these were American factories that we supplied jobs for our young people, especially our young men. They could get a decent, great job fresh out of high school, take a good trade, things like that. Didn't have to go to college for 4 years and pay, a gazillion dollars for somebody to sign a degree saying that you're smart. It's man, come on, dude. This is crazy.
We expect to survive for another 5,000 years.
When J.D. Vance talks about Chinese peasants, what do you make of their conduct in this respect?
If J.D. Vance thinks that he's dealing with the peasants in China, and I'm proud to be a descendant of the peasants, most of us are descendants of the peasants anyway, that's our tradition. We are farmers before, but now we are one of the leading industrialized economies in the world. So I'm sorry, J.D. Vance.
Why are you one of the most leading? Because of the opportunities that, America sold you, or, basically did sell you, because a lot of politicians capitalized off selling the factories and the jobs off. So, yeah.
Doesn't know what he's talking about. And therefore, I don't think there will be China-US dialogue unless the United States changes its attitude towards China. Deal with China as it is, show respect to China, show respect to the Chinese people, and don't try to impose your prejudice and biased view about China or about the rest of the world. China is...
All right. So, there you go right there. China wants respect out here. China wants respect. I mean, we sell our jobs off, stuff like that, allow China to prosper, and then they grow and bloom and stuff like that. And now they're coming back to us, telling us, well, we got your jobs. Then on top of that too, we're making your handbags, and then like in the previous video I showed you guys, well, why pay this much for this bag and stuff, like, man, they all the same shit. They all the same shit. It's crazy to me. All right. So we're going to keep going, because guess what? There's more. And this is the deal right here. So they're trying to appoint a new negotiator and things like that. But also we're going to hear from this gentleman first, and then we're going to see about what's going on with the new negotiator that they are trying to appoint to negotiate the tariffs. Let's go here now. Quarters, nickels, and dimes, people.
Alan, how should I read this statement?
Right. The first thing to know, I think, is that China has always been saying that it is open to dialogue. But then obviously there's always the fine print, and China has always framed its openness to dialogue as a willingness to talk, as long as it is based on equality and respect mutually. But we're able to report today that China is open to talks with a little more specific conditions attached to it. First of all, as I said, China is demanding some respect. And specifically, it basically wants the Trump administrations to rein in some of the cabinet members who makes disparaging remarks about China. And then the other more specific conditions is that China wants the U.S. side to appoint a person that it could have those talks with, which is understandable, because we've seen how different members of the administration have said different things over the course of the last couple of months. And China is frustrated that it doesn't really know what the U.S. wants from this negotiation. And this person, as long as he could or she could put together a deal that both presidents could put their names on, it's our understanding that China didn't designate anybody.
Okay. That's really interesting. But isn't the issue with that we ultimately see Donald Trump being the final arbiter of what the US side will accept? And isn't that the problem that we face here? That he's obviously thinks of himself as a deal maker and probably wants to be pulling the strings. Aren't the Chinese ultimately just going to be dealing with Trump? Isn't that the level at which this needs to be sorted out?
Yeah, I think we all know that Trump likes to deal with other leaders one-on-one to get them together in the same room and just hash it out between two leaders. But that's not how China normally operates here. And the bottom line is that China wants to deal with someone who actually represents or knows what Trump wants, so that any negotiation will have a meaningful outcome.
So you want to deal with the middleman? You want the middleman stuff, basically. You know what I'm saying? Basically, hold on here. You know, basically, you want the middleman stuff. You know what I'm saying? And see, this is the issue here with me with this middleman thing. Yeah, that Trump got in off good negotiation. Trump, as this the art of the deal. That's what he did. That's what he does. And you know, for them to want to have the middleman situation going on, it will create a lot of confusion to me, I would think. Because listen, look, what if Trump has to? What if the negotiation or the negotiators, you know, of each side and things like that, and definitely on Trump's side, stuff like that, they may have to, you know, rearrange or move a chess piece on the fly and stuff like that in the middle of the negotiation. How would they know what Trump would do and things like that in the middle of that negotiation? And the middleman poses a problem for me. It's like, okay, dude, why are you so big on having people come to speak for you instead of you being the one of the world leaders, you know, quote unquote, like was said before, you know, where we're, you know, one of the world leading economies and stuff. Okay, well, why don't you bring your ass over and talk to Trump too? You know what I'm saying? The man to man, face to face, you know, do the deal. And I'm like, that middleman crap always ends up, it's a possibility that could end up with something not being negotiated right, or a word, you can go back on your word with something with the middleman. Instead of being face to face, you can't really go back on your word once you talk to Trump and Trump talk to you, and y'all are sitting down right there and you're stating that this is what I want, this is such and such and such and such. You can't go back on your word at that point. And I think the middleman stuff is a murky situation. Definitely when we're talking about big shit like this. That middleman crap, nah, man, go ahead on and sit down, dude. If you want to be a world leader, you got, you know, your economy's booming, you know, you're second in the world under America, and this the powerful one. So yeah, sit your ass down. Let's talk. Let's do the deal. All right. So hold on, my bad. Yeah. I'm gonna change the screen here. We got one more for you guys. And you know, I mean, I'm just being honest with you. That's what I think. I think you need to sit down and do the deal. Stop trying to send other people to do things for you with this type of situation right here. Let's go. But you want respect though, right? You know what I'm saying? But you want respect. Let's go here now.
And in an unexpected move this morning, China has appointed a new international trade negotiator amid this escalating tariff war with the US. Now, this, as Beijing announced, its economy is exceeding expectations, growing by 5.4% from January to March. That's compared with the same period last year. However, analysts predict growth from the world's second largest economy will slow as the Trump administration's levies on Chinese goods into the US take effect. For more on this, let's bring in BBC News correspondent Stephen McDonald. He's following developments from Beijing. Good morning to you, Stephen, or I guess good evening, since it's about 7:10 in China where you are. Help us understand why China's appointed a new trade envoy now.
Yeah, well, the appointment of Li Chenggong says two things. One, that they think they're heading into rough waters, and two, it looks like they are actually preparing for negotiations. Now, why do we say that? Because he's a veteran trade negotiator who was China's former ambassador to the World Trade Organization in Geneva, just the type of person you would want to have to be sitting down with the US if you're going to cut some tough deals. So just his appointment makes it seem like, on the one hand, they're worried about where China's going, but on the other, if there are going to be negotiations, this is who we'd want to do it. And I think it does show that at some point they realize they're going to have to talk to Washington.
And as we
Right. You know, so you might as well go ahead on and talk to Trump in the first place. Why beat around the bush? Why try to navigate all these obstacles and stuff like that? China, listen, look, man, just go ahead on and sit down, have your leader sit down with our leader and go ahead on and negotiate and hash it out and be done instead of trying to put all these people in place. Now, you know what I'm saying? The thing of this is, you know, I think it's also a little bit of intimidation to a degree. You know, our negotiator, if Trump does appoint somebody to negotiate with this, with this gentleman here, with this gentleman here, if Trump does decide to appoint somebody to negotiate with this gentleman here and things like that, which I don't see Trump doing that. Because Trump, he like was said in the previous joint, Trump is on his business. He wants to do the deal himself. He's not trying to put somebody else in place to make these deals. That's not how Trump even operates. And in the first segment, well, in the other segment, it's, well, that's not how China works. Sorry, but I mean, it is what it is. Are we going to do the deal or not? Y'all are grown men. It's grown men talking. Do the deal. You want to do the deal, obviously, because you know what I'm saying, you're appointing a new negotiator, things like that. You're screaming, talking about respect and all this stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, you know, how much respect China been showing us for decades now. And then shit, they coming out telling us and things like that. This is crazy. This is crazy. Okay, do the deal.
Appointment makes it seem like, on the one hand, they're worried about where China's going, but on the other, if there are going to be negotiations, this is who we'd want to do it. And I think it does show that at some point they realize they're going to have to talk to Washington.
And as we just mentioned, China is exceeding growth expectations now, but when will tariffs, in your view, begin to have an impact on those numbers?
I think in the next quarter, I mean, sure, we saw some good figures today showing that really the Chinese economy was holding up much better than expected for the first quarter. Of course, all of that is before the tariffs kick in. So, you know, we had an acknowledgement actually from the person from the Bureau of Statistics releasing these figures that it is going to hurt, there is going to be pain, but that China has the ability to stand up to the US in the face of this challenge. I think we're going to see it pretty quickly, though. I mean, I'll give you a quick example. We've seen reports that the companies here that produce Christmas decorations for the US market, they're supposed to have had their orders by now. Now, they haven't had those orders yet because of the fear that it's all going to cost too much. And it means that I suppose people have to dig out their old Christmas decorations in the US this year or pay more for them if they end up coming in from China again. Now, that's just one example. And I think all of the export sectors of the market that are targeting the US, they're bracing for these sorts of shocks.
Really interesting note there. Stephen McDonald joining us.
All right. So, you know, it is what it is, though, you know, with the Christmas joints. But Jesus Christ. Come on now. They didn't put a new negotiator in the game to not want to negotiate. You know, and China not going to miss out on this money. Sorry. You know, y'all can believe what you want and be scared, whatever. China's not going to miss out on this money, man. They get too much money off of us. And the dude in the first segment I showed you, you know, in the other video I showed you talking about, well, we don't care. We don't care. You know, we've been around for 5,000 years and this and that. Yeah, but for 5,000 years, most of that y'all wasn't getting money off America like how y'all getting it now. You know, yeah, 5,000. Okay, fine then. Yeah, y'all. So, of course, your culture been around for 5,000 years. Fine. But right now, we're talking about today. We're talking about in the 21st century here. y'all been getting money off us since the 20th century, since the mid to late 20th century. Y'all been getting paid. And y'all been enjoying yourself. You know what I'm saying? Over there getting money, stuff like that. Your corporations is booming, all these types of things, because we've been buying all these products for decades now. You're not gonna miss on that money. Quit playing yourself.
And what the French toast is there to think about?
Quit playing yourself. China around here trying to play themselves, but they slowly but surely gonna bring their ass to the table. They ain't got no choice. Or where there's other markets where? Other market. Who buying the TVs and all this other type of stuff like that around the world? Was it England? I'm not saying that there's not other places that are not not buying goods from China. Don't get me wrong, yes, but the market of America, which, like I always say, America is the world's workhorse. Have been now for good at least almost 60 years. We are the world's workhorse. We buy all the products, we buy all the goods, we buy all the things like that support the rest of the world's economy. And these are just the facts. And the thing of this is China want to sit there and talk out the side of their neck about, we could survive and this and that. And then now they, slowly but surely trying to put new negotiators in place and things like that to, want to bring stuff to the table. And okay, well, we want Trump to bring his negotiator. No. Trump ain't going to appoint no fucking negotiator. He is the damn negotiator out here.
And what the French toast is there to think about?
And these are facts. So yeah, China's leader need to get on board, stuff like that. Well, we don't do that over in China. Okay, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, though, it just is what it is, man. You want us to keep buying your goods? Okay, then, you want this money, don't you, China? You want this money? You want this money, don't you, son? Yeah. I know you want this money, but it is what it is, though. Shout out to all my subscribers. Mad love to y'all. If you're new to the channel, please hit that like, share, subscribe button. Make sure you ring that bell to be notified whenever I decide to post things. And like I always say,
and that, my friends, is the bottom line.
That, my friends, is the bottom line.